Red Harbor Station was dying. Smoke rose from its broken towers, drifting like ghosts through the crimson sky. The sound of plasma fire echoed between the metal hills, sharp, quick bursts followed by the dull rumble of collapsing walls. The humans were outnumbered, outgunned, and cornered. But they were not finished. Captain Rhea Calder crouched behind a half-melted cargo hauler. Her helmet visor was cracked, one lens flickering, but she didn't care. Through the haze, she could see the VYRN advancing, tall, thin shapes wrapped in gray armor that pulsed faintly like living stone. Each movement they made was perfect, calculated, beautiful in a horrifying way. They didn't fight with emotion. They fought with math. A single plasma bolt struck beside her, splashing molten metal onto her arm. The armor smoked. She gritted her teeth, but didn't pull away. "Amani," she called over the comm, voice steady despite the pain. "Report." "Still alive, Cap," came the reply, heavy breathing under the words. "They're sweeping the refinery floor. We've got maybe a minute before they find us." Rhea peeked over the broken hauler. The VYRN moved in flawless patterns, 3 squads advancing in a perfect triangle, firing at set intervals. Every burst was aimed at nerves, joints, exposed seams. They didn't waste shots killing outright. They wanted paralysis, surrender, data. Sergeant Cade crawled beside her, wiping soot from his visor. "They're not even trying to finish us," he growled. "They're dissecting us." "That's what they do," Rhea muttered. "Pain as a weapon. They think it stops everything." A plasma round screamed past, grazing her jaw. White light and agony exploded across her face. For a moment, everything vanished. The world, the sound, the taste of air. Then she exhaled, slow and deliberate. Her fingers tightened around her rifle. She rose halfway from cover and fired a short, controlled burst. One VYRN fell, armor sparking. "Captain, your face." Cade's voice cracked through the comm. "Still here," Rhea said simply. The words came out rough, thick with blood. She didn't touch the wound. She didn't need to. She could feel it pulsing, hot and wet, along her jawline. But her aim didn't shake. The VYRN hesitated. For the first time since the war began, they paused mid-step. Their helmets tilted slightly, as if their network couldn't reconcile what it saw. A creature with catastrophic facial trauma, still fighting, moving, commanding. Private Imani slammed his fist against a steel beam. "That's right," he shouted. "You want to learn something about humans? Learn this." He started tapping his rifle, but on the ground. Slow, steady, rhythmic. Thump, thump, thump. Rhea heard it. Her mind locked on the beat. She rose again, fired between the pulses. Her squad followed instinctively, each burst of fire matching the rhythm. The sound turned into a war drum echoing through the ruined factory. It wasn't just noise. It was defiance. The VYRN's precise formation faltered. Their targeting patterns slipped. One alien's weapon overcharged and exploded in its hands. Another stumbled as if the math of battle had turned to chaos. "Keep moving," Rhea ordered. Her voice was calm, almost cold. Pain sharpened her words into steel. They pushed forward, clearing the debris, reclaiming meters that had been lost hours before. The refinery's molten glow bathed them in red light, painting their armor like demons from old Earth myths. As they regrouped behind a conveyor belt, Rhea looked up. Beyond the smoke and flame, a black spire rose against the sunset. The Lattice Spire, the alien command relay that coordinated every VYRN soldier on the planet. It pulsed faintly, humming through the ground like a heartbeat. Kate followed her gaze. "That's their brain," he said quietly. Rhea nodded. "Cut that, and their hive goes blind." Imani wiped ash from his cheek. "And how do we get there?" Rhea's bloody grin caught the fading light. "We walk through hell." The comm crackled with static, then silence. Outside, the VYRN regrouped, their blue lenses glowing brighter. The next wave was coming, larger, faster, relentless. Rhea pressed her back against the hot metal wall, adjusted her rifle, and whispered to herself, "Let's see if logic can bleed." The drums started again. Thump, 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 and Horizon Squad charged into the storm. The night swallowed Red Harbor Station whole. The air was thick with smoke, ozone, and the metallic tang of fear. Horizon Squad crouched in the shadows of a collapsed communications tower, their armor flickering under the dying emergency lights. The VYRN weren't chasing anymore. They were hurting. Every corridor, every alley, every surviving human was being pushed toward the industrial sector like cattle to a slaughterhouse. Captain Rhea Calder watched from a cracked viewport. Below, hundreds of alien soldiers moved in silent coordination. They didn't speak. They didn't gesture. Every step, every strike, every kill was synchronized through their hive connection, the lattice spire that loomed in the distance like a black tooth tearing the sky. Cade spat onto the floor. They're tightening the noose. We won't last another hour hiding here. Rhea's eyes stayed fixed on the spire's glowing veins pulsing across the landscape. Then we don't hide, she said softly. We blind them. The squad turned toward her. She knelt and drew a rough sketch on the dusty floor with her combat knife. Lines for the spire, dots for its guard towers, and a wide ring of broken solar mirrors spread along the northern ridge. Before the war, these mirrors powered the refinery grid, she explained. They can still track sunlight. If we can align just 5 of them, we can focus enough heat to overload the spire's outer shell. Imani frowned. Captain, those mirrors are a kilometer out in open terrain. We'd be running through open sky with nothing but prayers and bad luck. Rhea looked up. Her wounded jaw twitched when she smiled. Then we make our own luck. Cade leaned closer. Even if we reach the mirrors, how do we control them? The automation cores were fried last siege. Manually, Rhea said. Each frame can still be rotated by hand if we cut the safeties. We use the wind from the storm front to spin them faster. Doc Voss let out a low whistle. You're talking about turning sunlight into a weapon with broken mirrors and manual cranks. Rhea met his gaze. Exactly. The VYRN think we're predictable. Logical. That pain stops us. Let's teach them chaos. The wind howled through the ruins, carrying distant alien howls, metallic, echoing, precise. They began gathering what little they had, scraps of wire, old power cells, and a single recon drone with a half-dead transmitter. Imani tinkered with it, sparks flying. If I can boost the signal, we can make it broadcast heartbeat sounds, fast, irregular, human. Rhea tilted her head. Heartbeats. Yeah, he said. Noise they can't process. They live in silence. Let's give them something alive to fear. Minutes later, the drone lifted into the air. Its speakers pulsed with the sound of racing human hearts, mixed with static, laughter, and whispers of old songs. It drifted into the smoke, baiting the VYRN's sensors. From across the refinery, alien heads turned. Their formation fractured for the first time. The hive was confused. The noise didn't fit any known pattern. It was not an attack, not a command, not even a signal. Just raw, illogical life. Beautiful, Rhea whispered. The squad moved out under the cover of chaos. They sprinted through half-collapsed tunnels, slipping between flickering shadows. Every step felt heavier than the last. The pain in Rhea's face had become constant, a heartbeat of agony that matched the drone's pulse echoing through the city. But she welcomed it. It reminded her she was still here, still human. As they neared the ridge, a storm front rolled over the horizon, painting the sky in electric veins. The first drops of rain hissed on their overheated armor. Lightning illuminated the shattered solar mirrors. Massive glass petals cracked, but still gleaming under the alien light. Cade pressed a gloved hand against the nearest frame. This thing's fused solid. Then break it, Rhea ordered. He jammed a crowbar into the joint, muscle straining. Metal shrieked. The mirror groaned and shifted, just an inch, then 2. Rust fell like ash. Imani climbed onto the next frame, attaching makeshift sails cut from broken insulation panels. When the wind caught them, the mirrors creaked and turned slightly toward the spire. A faint glint of sunlight, scattered through storm clouds, caught their edges. Doc Voss adjusted his visor. They're reflecting. Not much, but enough to make a mark. Below them, the VYRN were regrouping. The hive's voice hummed through the comms, distorted, angry, searching. They'd realized the humans were up to something. Rhea knelt beside the main control console, a skeleton of burnt wires. She plugged in a cracked power cell, fingers trembling. Just a few seconds of alignment, she muttered. That's all we need. The wind rose to a roar. The mirrors turned. Beams of light began to merge across the dark plane, converging on the lattice spire's midpoint. The black structure shimmered as the heat hit its outer shell. The VYRN below stopped moving. Their network stuttered. The hum in the air turned into static. Cade laughed breathlessly. It's working. Rhea stood tall against the wind, her face streaked with rain and blood. She looked toward the spire, its veins glowing erratically like a wounded heart. "Then let's break their rhythm," she said. And as thunder cracked above, Horizon Squad prepared to descend the ridge, straight into the storm they had created. The storm over Red Harbor had teeth now. Lightning ripped through the black clouds, painting the metal plains in white flashes that looked like camera shutters capturing humanity's last stand. The wind howled, tearing at the ruins and sending waves of red dust spiraling into the air. Horizon Squad crouched along the ridge where the broken solar field stretched into the distance. The mirrors, cracked, warped, and half buried in mud, still shimmered faintly with stolen sunlight. They reflected scattered fire onto the massive lattice spire below, where the alien hive network pulsed and screamed in flickering confusion. "Readings are unstable," Doc Voss muttered, scanning the heat signatures through his cracked visor. "Their network's lagging, but it's not down yet. We hurt them, but we didn't kill the signal." Captain Rhea Calder wiped a streak of mud from her cheek. Her wound, sealed with a patch of med gel, gleamed under the lightning. Her left eye twitched with every throb of pain, but her voice was steady. "Then we finish what we started. If the mirrors can't melt the spire, we bring the storm to it." Cade grinned, a tired, feral grin that only humans could wear when facing the impossible. "You mean lightning?" "Exactly," Rhea said. "We give nature a target." She pointed toward a rusted antenna array jutting from the ridge. Ancient comms towers from the early mining days, tall enough to catch the clouds themselves. Their spires leaned like dying trees, cables swinging loose in the wind. "If we can power that relay," she continued, "it'll act as a lightning rod. One good strike, and we can channel a direct surge into the lattice's shield grid. It'll fry their harmonics from the top down." Imani stared at the skeletal towers. "Those things are older than dirt, Cap. We'll get ourselves vaporized before it even connects." Rhea's grin widened. "Maybe, but it'll be one hell of a light show." They ran. The ridge trembled underfoot as plasma bolts carved the earth behind them. The VYRN had finally realized the source of the interference. Drones swept the sky, scanning for human signatures. Their beams cut through the rain like knives of blue light. "Move," Rhea shouted. "No stopping. If we slow down, we're done." They weaved between shattered pylons and twisted girders, their boots splashing through puddles of oil and water. Each bolt that struck nearby sent ripples of electricity crawling across the metal debris, lighting the ground in ghostly blue veins. Cade reached the first antenna and started climbing. The structure swayed violently, groaning in the wind. "This thing's a death trap," he yelled. "Keep going," Rhea said, her voice cutting through the storm like a blade. "Death trap's just another word for opportunity." Below, Imani worked to reroute the tower's old capacitor lines, connecting them to a cracked portable power cell. Sparks leapt from his gloves as he twisted the leads together. "I can give you 30 seconds of charge, tops," he said through gritted teeth. "30's plenty," Rhea replied. "We're not planning to live forever." Lightning struck the far horizon, a branching spear of light splitting the sky. The hum from the lattice spire grew louder, a mechanical howl vibrating through the earth. The aliens were adapting. Their formations shifted, creating overlapping shields that flickered like scales. Cade reached the top of the antenna. He clipped a cable to his harness and braced himself against the wind. "Cap, I'm in position." Rhea toggled her comm. "On my mark. When I say jump, you jump." Doc Voss stared at her. "You're not serious." But she was. He could see it in her eyes. Humans had a look when they were about to do something insane, the kind of look logic couldn't decode. "Mark." Imani slammed the power cell's activation switch. The old tower screamed to life, every joint vibrating as current surged up its spine. The air buzzed. The clouds above churned like boiling smoke. Lightning found its path. The sky exploded. A jagged bolt slammed into the antenna, blinding white and roaring loud enough to rattle bones. The surge tore down the tower, arcing through Rhea's cables, overloading her suit's insulation. Her HUD flared and died. The current leapt from the ridge to the valley below, racing along the connected mirrors and striking the lattice spire's topmost ring. The entire structure lit up like a dying sun. Energy rippled through its veins, splitting the night into fractured moments of light and darkness. Then came the silence, thick and absolute. When Rhea opened her eyes, her armor smoked. The world was blurry, half-muffled. Her hands trembled as she pushed herself up. "Status," she croaked. Cade's laughter crackled through the calm. "I'm alive. Holy hell. Cap, that was beautiful." Imani coughed, crawling from behind a fallen beam. "Half the spire's dead. Their lights are flickering." Rhea turned her head toward the valley. The lattice's rhythm was broken. Its perfect symmetry had collapsed into chaos, random bursts, uneven flickers, jagged energy flows. She smiled through the pain. "Good. Let's give them something they can't calculate." Down below, the VYRN army was faltering. Units turned without orders, their formation collapsing as their shared links sputtered and failed. For the first time, they moved not as one, but as many. Confused, fractured, vulnerable. "Phase 2, Rhea said, reloading her rifle. "We're going in." And with the storm at their backs and the burning sky above, Horizon Squad began their descent toward the wounded alien spire, toward the heart of everything the VYRN thought they understood about perfection. The storm was dying, but the world still burned. Red Harbor lay behind them in ruins, a smear of orange fire and black smoke stretching to the horizon. The air smelled of wet metal and ozone. Every breath felt like swallowing ash. Horizon Squad moved through the wreckage in silence, shadows against the broken landscape. The lattice spire loomed ahead, half-crippled and howling like a wounded god. Its veins of alien light flickered unevenly now, sputtering through the cracks Rhea's lightning strike had torn open. Sparks leapt across its surface, crawling like fireflies on a dying beast. The perfect hum that once guided the VYRN was fractured, now a jagged chorus of confusion and static. "Cap," Cade said, adjusting the grip on his rifle. "They're still moving down there. Not all of them, but enough to kill us 10 times. Rhea nodded. "Then we'll just have to die slower than they expect." Doc Voss chuckled dryly. "You always know how to comfort us." They reached the valley floor, where the spire's foundations rose like black roots from the ground. Each column was made of strange living metal that pulsed faintly beneath their boots, warm and wet to the touch. Every step echoed with a hollow vibration, as if they were walking across the chest of some enormous creature still breathing. Imani ran a gloved hand along the wall. "This thing's alive," he whispered. Rhea glanced at him. "Then let's open it up and see what bleeds." The main entrance was a towering arch of interlocking plates. It looked sealed, but as they approached, the surface quivered. The plates peeled apart like eyelids opening, revealing a tunnel of pale blue light. Cade lifted his rifle. "It's inviting us in. Or swallowing us whole," Doc muttered. Rhea stepped forward first. "Either way," she said, "we're not here to be polite." The tunnel closed behind them with a soft hiss, sealing out the storm. Inside, the air was warmer, almost humid, and thick with the faint scent of ammonia and oil. The walls pulsed rhythmically, glowing veins of light running through translucent membranes. The floor flexed slightly beneath their boots, as if it were breathing. The silence pressed against them. No gunfire. No voices. Only the low, throbbing heartbeat of the alien structure. "Movement ahead," Cade whispered, raising his weapon. Figures emerged from the glow, 3 VYRN hunters, their armor blacker than obsidian. Their movements were slower, less coordinated, like puppets missing half their strings. Rhea motioned for quiet. She stepped into the open and fired a single shot. The lead VYRN jerked backward, a neat hole through its chest. The others turned, hesitated, then fired wildly. No rhythm, no unity. Imani and Cade opened fire, cutting them down in seconds. When the last one fell, Rhea approached the bodies. Their armor still twitched, faintly alive, but their eyes, if they had any, were dull. "The network's breaking down," Doc said, crouching beside a fallen alien. "They're losing the link. They don't know what to do without orders." Rhea reloaded her rifle. "Good. That means the brain's scared." They pressed deeper into the spire. Corridors split and curved, lined with cables that pulsed like arteries. Strange symbols crawled across the walls, glyphs that shifted and rearranged themselves like living equations. Every few minutes, they passed a chamber filled with humming crystals or coiled metal tendrils that shivered as they walked by. Imani's voice was low, almost reverent. "You ever wonder if they think we're the monsters?" Rhea didn't answer right away. Her face, half covered by dried med gel, looked carved from stone. They think perfection means never breaking, she said finally. But everything that's strong cracks a little when it's tested. A deep tremor rolled through the floor. The walls shuddered. From somewhere above, a mechanical roar echoed, low and drawn out, like the sound of the spire itself in pain. Cap, Cade said, his voice tense. That didn't sound like a reactor. That sounded alive. It is alive, Doc murmured, staring at the walls. It's adapting, learning from us. Then let's teach it something final, Rhea said. The next door opened into a massive chamber that stole their breath. It was a cathedral of machinery. Dozens of towering spines rose into the dark, glowing at their tips with cold, electric light. Between them hung streams of energy that rippled like water, forming holographic symbols that dissolved and reformed in the air. At the center, suspended in a cocoon of translucent film, was a single figure. Taller than any VYRN they'd seen, its armor gleamed like liquid glass. Cables ran from its skull into the ceiling, connecting it to the spire's living circuits. The prime conductor, Doc whispered. That's their hive mind. The figure's head tilted slightly, as if hearing him. A voice, cold, mechanical, and perfectly calm, filled the chamber. You are anomalies. Biological noise. The signal endures. You cannot stop it. Rhea stepped forward, her rifle steady. We already did. The lights in the chamber flickered. The cables twitched like veins under strain. Incorrect, the voice replied. You hurt us. You confuse us. But you cannot break us. Rhea smiled, a slow, bloody smile. That's the thing about humans, she said. We don't break clean. The air vibrated as the cocoon split open. The prime conductor's eyes flared to life, two burning white circles that cut through the darkness. The sound that followed wasn't a scream, wasn't even a word. It was a pulse, an ultrasonic wave that shook the ground and made their helmets buzz with interference. Kate staggered. It's trying to jam us, mess with our brains. Rhea raised her rifle and fired. The round hit the cocoon and exploded in a flash of sparks. The cables recoiled, hissing. Move, she shouted. We've found the heart. Now let's make it stop beating. And as the spire began to roar, Horizon Squad charged forward into the machine's living heart, weapons blazing, every step carrying them deeper into the chaos they had created. The spire screamed. The sound wasn't made of air. It was vibration, pressure, thought. Every surface shuddered. Every wall rippled like a living drumhead struck by invisible hands. Horizon Squad pushed forward through the chaos, armor scraping against the trembling floor that pulsed like muscle. Blue light flashed through the corridors, casting their shadows long and sharp. Rhea Calder led from the front. Her left cheek was split open beneath the dried gel. Blood had crusted in a jagged trail down her neck. Every heartbeat sent pain like a hammer through her skull, but she didn't slow. Pain was the only thing keeping her conscious, and she needed it. Behind her, Cade fired short, controlled bursts down the corridor. More of them, left and right. VYRN hunters poured from the walls, literally from them, peeling out of the glowing membrane like insects emerging from cocoons. But they were different now. Their movements were jerky, erratic. Their armor glitched, colors shifting between shades of gray and white. The hive mind's precision was gone. Cap, they're not coordinated, Doc shouted, reloading. They're guessing. Then they're human now, Rhea said grimly. And that means they bleed. They met the charge head-on. The first VYRN swung its claws toward her face, but Rhea didn't dodge. She caught the strike with her forearm plating, feeling the claws dig deep into the armor. She twisted, driving her rifle's barrel up under its chin, and fired. The shot blew its head back in a spray of molten sparks. Imani ducked beneath another alien strike and slammed a plasma knife into its gut. You like math? He shouted. Here's subtraction. The battle turned brutal and close. Gunfire filled the chamber like thunder. The walls pulsed faster, the spire reacting to their intrusion, its lights flickering between deep crimson and blinding white. The air itself felt alive, vibrating with the hive's fury. Doc knelt beside an injured Cade, his gloves slick with blood. He's hit. Right leg. Can he walk? Rhea asked, firing 2 more rounds without looking. Barely. Then crawl. No one stays behind. Cade barked a weak laugh. You're all heart, Cap. They moved again, dragging themselves deeper toward the core. Every meter closer made the pressure worse, the hum of the spire pounding through their bones. There. Helmets crackled with static as alien voices whispered in fragments. Human malfunction, no logic, error, error. Rhea ignored it. She focused on the flickering light ahead, a pulsing glow like a heartbeat through glass. That was the core chamber, the spire's brain, the prime conductor's throne. When they reached the final doorway, it opened like a wound. Veins of light stretched across the ceiling, converging into a massive orb of transparent energy. Inside it floated the prime conductor, a towering VYRN, its body half machine, half liquid metal. Hundreds of cables linked its spine to the walls, pulsing in rhythm with its voice. "You should have died," it said, its voice echoing through their helmets and skulls alike. "Your pain is an error. Your defiance is a flaw. You infect order with chaos." Rhea stepped forward, the barrel of her rifle glowing hot. "Then maybe chaos is the cure." The prime conductor's eyes flared white. The air around it rippled, turning solid. A shockwave hurled the squad backward, slamming them into the walls. Cade's rifle flew from his grip. Imani's visor shattered. Doc's medkit scattered across the floor like shards of glass. Rhea hit the ground hard, her ribs screaming in protest. Her helmet display went dark. All she could see was the dim pulse of the alien core, a rhythm that matched her own heartbeat. She pushed herself up. "We end this now." Imani limped toward the main console at the edge of the chamber. "If I overload these conduits," he said, "we can make the spire cook itself from the inside." Doc's hands trembled as he yanked a half-fried detonator from his belt. "It's unstable. If we trip it too early, we're all ash." "Then time it right," Rhea said. The conductor moved closer, its limbs unfolding like blades of glass. "You think you can destroy perfection?" it asked, its tone calm again, almost pitying. "Pain will stop you. It always does." Rhea reached up, tore off the cracked gel patch from her face, and glared up at it. "Then you don't understand us at all." She grabbed the nearest fallen VYRN rifle and hurled it into one of the conduits. The weapon discharged mid-air, sending a bolt of white energy into the structure. Sparks exploded across the walls. "Now, Imani," she shouted. He slammed his palm onto the console. A surge of light flooded the chamber. The walls began to melt, the veins glowing red-hot as the overload built. The prime conductor screamed, a digital roar that shook the world. "Impossible. Your systems should cease function." Rhea stumbled forward through the searing light. The heat was unbearable. Her armor was cracking, her vision fading. But she kept moving, step by step. Pain wasn't her stop sign. It was her engine. She leveled her rifle, aimed at the conductor's chest, and whispered, "This is for Red Harbor." The final shot cut through the storm of light, striking the conductor's core. For a split second, everything went silent. No sound, no color, no breath. Then the world erupted. The core imploded in a blinding burst of white fire. Energy screamed outward, tearing through every corridor, every wall, every alien left connected to the hive. Horizon Squad was thrown off their feet, tumbling through the collapsing spire. Rhea felt weightless for a heartbeat, then darkness claimed her. When she opened her eyes, everything was quiet. Too quiet. The spire was burning from the inside out, its once perfect walls dripping like candle wax. The prime conductor's light was gone. Only echoes remained, faint, distant whispers fading into static. Cade groaned beside her. "Cap, tell me that was worth it." Rhea forced herself to sit up. Her body was on fire, but she smiled anyway. "We just broke their god." Doc Voss laughed weakly. "Then let's make sure it stays dead." Rhea nodded, staring at the ruins around them. "Not yet. We still have to survive it." And as the spire began to collapse around them, the humans stood once more, battered, bleeding, unbroken, ready to fight their way out of the belly of the beast they had just killed. The world was ending, again. The lattice spire was dying from the inside out, and Horizon Squad was trapped within its collapsing heart. The alien structure groaned like a wounded giant, metal and flesh tearing apart in slow, deafening agony. Every step sent tremors up their legs. Every breath tasted of ash and electricity. Rhea Calder coughed blood into her helmet, spat, and kept moving. Her armor was cracked open at the side, leaking sparks with each step. The faint blue light of her HUD flickered, struggling to stay alive like its owner. Behind her, Doc Voss dragged Cade, whose left leg was nothing but mangled plating and pain. Imani followed last, limping, one arm hanging limp at his side, but still clutching the data core they'd ripped from the Prime Conductor's console. Cap, Imani gasped, voice hoarse. You said this thing wouldn't blow yet. Rhea gave a grim half-smile. I lied. I wanted you to run faster. Overhead, the alien ceiling split open, revealing glimpses of the storm outside. Forks of lightning flashed against the wounded spire's inner walls, painting the corridors in momentary bursts of light. In between those flashes, alien screams echoed, glitches of machine and biology, their once perfect voices broken into static. Doc struggled to stay steady. If that overload reaches the core, we'll be vaporized before we hit daylight. Then we keep ahead of it, Rhea said. Cade, half-conscious, laughed bitterly. You say that like we've got a plan. Rhea's voice softened. We don't need a plan. We just need to move. They stumbled through a pulsating corridor. Every surface twitched like muscle. The floor was slick and hot beneath their boots. Strange fluids leaked from ruptured conduits, sizzling when they touched the air. The smell was unbearable, burning circuits and decay. As they turned a corner, a figure dropped from the ceiling with a sickening wet thud. It was a VYRN soldier. Its armor melted into its flesh, eyes wide but blind. It crawled toward them, whispering in a garbled voice. Prime, reboot, please, pain too much. Imani flinched back, aiming his sidearm. Cap, don't, Rhea said quietly. She watched as the alien twitched, spasmed, and finally went still. Its internal lights flickered once, then died completely. Doc whispered, they're dying without the hive. Rhea looked down at the body, her voice low. They never learned how to be alone. A rumble shook the chamber. The walls convulsed, tearing open to reveal a new passage leading upward. The sound of rushing air followed. The storm above was breaking through. Their only exit. Up there, Rhea ordered. Move. They climbed a twisted slope of broken alloy and torn cables. Each step was a struggle. Cade dragged himself with his arms, leaving a trail of blood. Imani pushed from behind, his breath ragged but determined. Doc paused only long enough to slap a final coagulant patch on Cade's leg before continuing. Halfway up, the entire spire convulsed again. The power grid beneath them went critical. Red light flooded the walls as the dying machine screamed one last time. A sound of logic collapsing into chaos. Cap, it's going, Doc shouted. Then so are we. They reached the final hatch just as the explosion began. Rhea slammed her fist against the manual release. The door refused to open. Sparks showered from the controls. She growled, planted both boots, and ripped at the manual lever with her bare hands. The skin on her palms tore under the metal edge, blood smearing across the handle. With a roar, she pulled. The hatch gave way. Cold air rushed in, a hurricane of storm wind and rain. Beyond it stretched the night sky, fractured by fire and lightning. Rhea shoved Cade through first, then Doc, then Imani. She climbed out last, collapsing onto the platform outside just as the lattice's core detonated below. The explosion didn't sound like thunder, it sounded like silence being born. The spire imploded on itself, folding inward as its living metal melted into molten glass. The blast wave rolled over the valley, sending up clouds of burning dust. They watched as the towering alien structure that had ruled Red Harbor for months finally fell, collapsing in slow, majestic ruin. The sky lit up with its dying light, a mix of red and blue fire curling toward the heavens. Doc Voss sat down hard, helmet off, gasping for breath. We're alive. How the hell are we alive? Cade gave a pained laugh. Luck. Dumb, suicidal luck. Rhea stayed silent, staring at the horizon. The storm had cleared. For the first time in days, faint sunlight broke through the clouds. It glinted off the debris like a promise. Imani slumped beside her, holding up the cracked data core. Cap, he said, I pulled what I could. Their command logs, battle models, maybe whatever's left of their brain. Rhea looked at it, a small, glowing shard, still pulsing faintly. Keep it, she said. We'll need it. Someone out there will want to know how we broke their perfect equation. Cade groaned, leaning back against the railing. You think we actually broke them? The VYRN? The hive? Ria's one good eye reflected the burning wreckage below. No, she said quietly. But we taught them something they'll never forget. What's that? Doc asked. She smiled faintly, her voice a whisper carried by the wind. That pain doesn't stop us. It makes us. The storm wind howled through the ruins, carrying with it the echoes of the spire's death. Somewhere in the distance, the colonists of Red Harbor were rising, their weapons in hand, their courage rekindled. For the first time since the war began, the sky belonged to humanity again. And as Ria watched the last of the alien light fade, she felt something stir deep inside her chest. Not fear, not rage, but a quiet, stubborn hope. Let's go home, she said. The others rose, battered and limping, and followed her into the dawn. The rain had stopped. For the first time in months, Red Harbor Station wasn't burning. The sky above was no longer red with plasma fire or choked with smoke. It was blue. Pale, fragile, impossible blue. The kind of color you forgot existed when you lived too long under alien skies. Captain Ria Calder stood on what used to be the landing platform, staring across the valley where the lattice spire had fallen. The massive alien structure was gone, replaced by a crater that glowed faintly in the morning sun. Steam rose from it in twisting plumes, carrying the smell of scorched metal and victory. Her armor was scorched black, her left arm barely functional, and her face was a patchwork of scars and medgel, but she was alive. That counted for everything now. Cade sat nearby, his wounded leg braced with scrap metal and wire. He was laughing quietly, almost disbelievingly. We actually did it, he said. We killed a god. Doc Voss was patching a tear in Amani's shoulder plate, his hands trembling from exhaustion. You don't kill gods, he muttered. You just prove they can bleed. Amani looked up, holding the cracked data core they had taken from the spire. Its light was dim now, fading with every minute. This thing's still whispering, he said softly. Fragments, broken code, confused signals. The hive is lost. It's searching for something it can't find. Let it search, Ria said. Her voice was rough, quiet, but steady. Let them try to understand what happened here. The wind shifted, carrying faint echoes from the distant colony. Voices. Human voices. Laughter and shouts. Ria turned toward the sound. Across the barren plain, dozens, no, hundreds, of survivors were climbing out of the ruins. Miners, mechanics, refugees, children. They were armed with scavenged weapons, their faces streaked with dirt and tears. They were walking toward the ridge where Horizon Squad stood. Cade pushed himself upright. Looks like they finally realized the monsters are gone. Not gone, Ria said, watching the horizon. Just broken. Doc tilted his head. Think they'll come back. Ria didn't answer. Instead, she knelt and ran her fingers through the red soil, now mixed with black ash and shards of alien metal. Beneath the surface, the ground was warm, alive with the remnants of the spire's energy. If they do, she said at last, we'll be ready. A soft beep broke the silence. Imani's comms crackled to life, faint and fuzzy. This is Red Harbor Command. Any human units still operational, respond. Ria smiled faintly. Command, she said, pressing her comm switch. This is Captain Calder, Horizon Squad. We're alive. The spire is down. Repeat, the spire is down. There was a long pause on the other end. Then a shaky, disbelieving laugh. Copy that, Horizon. You're being broadcast to every survivor channel across the colony. They're cheering. The others looked at each other. Cade exhaled, shaking his head. We actually made history. Ria stood, watching the crowd gather below. The colonists were waving, shouting their names, holding up makeshift flags made from torn uniforms. For the first time, the humans of Red Harbor didn't look like prey. They looked like a species reborn. Amani looked up at her, smiling weakly. What now, Cap? Ria took a deep breath. The wind was cold, but clean. Now we rebuild. We teach them how to fight. Because somewhere out there, the rest of the galaxy is still watching. Cade squinted at the morning sun. Think the VYRN saw this. They did, Ria said. Her tone was calm, certain. They felt it. And they're scared. She turned to face the horizon where the clouds were parting, revealing distant stars still faint in the daylight. They thought pain would stop us, she said quietly. They never understood. It's the reason we keep standing. Doc Voss chuckled tiredly. You're going to make someone carve that onto a statue one day. Let them, Ria said, half smiling. Maybe it'll remind them what we're made of. The ground rumbled faintly, a delayed echo from the spire's collapse. In the far distance, a dark silhouette briefly shimmered in the clouds. A ship, not VY-Ren. Human. Imani pointed. Cap, that's a rescue shuttle. Rhea raised her hand to shield her eyes. Not rescue, she said softly. Reinforcements. As the vessel descended, sunlight struck its hull, reflecting the symbol of the Terran Expeditionary Corps, a reminder that humanity, even at the edge of extinction, never truly stood alone. Rhea straightened her back, her scarred face calm and resolute. Horizon, she said, her voice firm. You've done your part. But this war isn't over. It's only the beginning. The others gathered beside her as the shuttle's engines roared overhead. The colonists cheered from below, their voices rising into a single defiant roar that shook the sky. And as the wind whipped around her, Rhea looked toward the stars and whispered, almost to herself, let them come. Humanity just proved the universe wrong. The sky above Red Harbor turned gold as the sun broke through the last storm clouds, and for the first time in history, the stars had something new to fear, us.